Hi there! So I realised that I forgot to film an introduction for this video, so I'm going to quickly tell you guys a little bit about it first. So I was invited for an assessment day for a company, and I won't say who they are because I don't think that's very professional. And they actually called it an assessment centre, and I've come to realise that that's quite an official term. And a lot of bigger companies do these centres, and they can be quite similar, I think. So I think my advice on preparing for one might be helpful regardless of which company you are applying to. I have got one for a product and marketing scheme, and in this video I will show you how I prepared for it, and when I've been to the assessment centre I will do another video and talk a little bit about my experience of it. So I've written my list, and I will maybe type these things up actually and leave it in the description box below. But basically these are the things that I've identified that will help me on the day. Now, just to tell you a little bit about my assessment day, I have been told what's going to go on during the day, and essentially we arrive, then we've got to do a group activity which I have to do obviously with the other candidates. There will be 6 of us, I think, and apparently I can't prepare for all this. But the things that I am going to do that might help is know sort of the products and services that the company provide, because I imagine it could be something to do with that, especially because it's a product and marketing graduate scheme. Maybe they'll ask us to review some possible products or to come up with some kind of campaign. So I'm also going to look at the marketing strategies that the company have used so far, and also I'm going to think about who their customers are, and hopefully there might be some information about that online. And then after that we have got to do a business brief, which is kind of like a role play situation with a pretend line manager. And again, I can't prepare for this. The only thing I can think of to help prepare for it is to think about the core values and the sort of work ethic of the company. So you can usually find these online, and I think it's a really good idea to memorise them. That's clearly how they want their staff to approach their job, so maybe that might help in that sort of situation. And then after that I will have a 1 hour, oh good lord, I've only just realised that, gosh, a 1 hour competency based interview. So if you've watched my telephone interview preparation video, you will have seen that I made loads of possible competency-based questions. I'm going to go over those and just try and make sure that I know what I'm going to say in case each one was asked. Also, for the 1 hour interview, to prepare for it, I'm going to just go over my CV and make sure I can kind of think off the top of my head which experiences relate to which kind of skills that they might be looking for. So, say like team working skills, what was the best thing I did that demonstrated that? I've got a pack here which I put together for the telephone interview, so I'm going to use this, and this is my CV, so I'm going to work my way through that. And then see, these are my competency based questions which I came up with before. And then another thing I'm going to do, just in case they ask me any questions about the industry in general, and so I'm going to research news relating specifically to the company, and then also research the financial industry generally, and I will show you how I go about doing it. And for each time you're researching things about the industry as a whole, think about how they specifically impact that company. Also, when I was preparing for the telephone interview, I made sure I had the job specification already printed out. So for the assessment day, I imagine questions to do with why I'm a good fit for the job might come up. So for this you need to they're not going to tell you in your interview what the job involves, so you need to make sure you know that beforehand, so that when you're saying why you're good for the job, you can specifically link it to each core skills that they're sort of looking for and what you'd do in the job. So I would suggest beginning on Google and doing a simple search for the company. So say if it was Santander, which it's not, Google that, and I would suggest going to the news and just seeing what the headlines are, particularly say from more reputable newspapers like The Guardian. So this would be kind of the thing you're looking for, so that you know what the company's been up to, what the key issues are. If you are applying for a financial position, I'd recommend going to The Economist, because they write stories in a way that's a bit more accessible, I think, than say the Financial Times, or I find it a bit more interesting anyway. So when you're here, go to the search tool, type in the company, and then it should come up with a bunch of stories. You have to be quite selective, look at the date as well, because you want to be really up to date. Like, there's no point looking from like 2 years ago. I'd say look within the last 6 months maybe, but ideally sooner than that. Santander's future, that would be useful. Things like that really. But also, I mean, you might want to know like things about the banking industry as a whole, so you could, I don't know, maybe Google the banking industry. You want to find out about the company's competitors as well, so this is why Googling generally rather than just for the company is also a good idea, because you want to know where your company fits in within the industry. If possible, find some industry level reports. So for example, I found on PricewaterhouseCoopers website a Retail Banking 2020 report, and you can download this for free and read all about like the key issues in the industry and things that banks need to be thinking about for the future. And although it's not specific to the company, it's a great thing to read, because also you just pick up on like key terms which you might not have heard of before. So if you can like get those into your vocabulary, so that when you're at the interview or you're doing the group task, you can bring those kind of things up, and you know, it will just show that you know what you're talking about a little bit more. So I would also Google assessment centres just to find out what other people have been saying about their experiences of them. A particularly useful website that I found is actually from the University of Kent, and they have a page on team working skills, which was quite useful for the group task, and it says the different roles that people play in meetings, and it's just something for you to think about in terms of your behaviour on the day. So it's important whilst you're there to be encouraging, to compromise, to be a leader, yes, it's a good idea, if no one else has, you could summarise what's been discussed, particularly at the end, and perhaps halfway through as well. Obviously come up with ideas if you can. It's always good to evaluate your own ideas and other people's ideas. Obviously do it in a positive and constructive manner. If there's like a flip chart or something, it might be worth sort of volunteering to record what's being discussed. But don't, if you do this, don't kind of isolate yourself. Make sure that you're still an important part of the discussion. One thing that I've read quite a lot of is it's good to keep a note of the finish time, so that you can be the person that says, oh guys, we've got 10 minutes left, because it just shows that you're organised and good at kind of taking more of a leadership role. Equally, if one member is being quite quiet, it might be a good idea to say, oh, well, you know, Sheila, what do you think about the idea? Be persuasive with your arguments, but equally don't be too dominant. I know it's really difficult, but try to be yourself and try to relax and have fun. And at the end of the day, an assessment centre is good experience, so you're not really losing anything by being there. So, you know, try and take as much from it as you can. So in terms of physical things that you can do to prepare for your assessment day, you can make sure your hair looks good. I realise this is like the craziest outfit you've probably ever seen, well maybe not, but it is because I have got really bad roots at the moment. It has been a long time since I last dyed my hair and it really needs doing. So hopefully, like, it's just the little things, like you just want to give a good impression when you're there. So at least if you physically look smart, then maybe they'll think you're worth hiring. Well, it's got to help, hasn't it? Don't I look beautiful? So obviously you also need to decide what to wear for your assessment centre, and I'd say you can never be too smart. So I wore this lovely navy dress, which I often wear for interviews. I really like it because it's quite plain, but it's got this kind of effect here, which is also quite flattering, and it's got a really nice zip down the back. And I read somewhere actually that blue is the best colour to wear to an interview. I guess because you don't want to wear something really bright. You don't want to wear like a red, probably, because that would be seen as quite aggressive, I think. Whereas a nice blue is professional. And I combined it with this blazer. Oh, I forgot to say, the dress is from, I think, Debenhams, but I got it quite a few years ago. I'm not sure what that brand is, but yeah. And then this simple blazer was really cheap. It was like £20 from New Look. And I think it looked quite smart. I wore black tights, and then I wore these shoes, which are just from Dorothy Perkins, and I think they went quite nicely with this overall look. Definitely look a little bit smarter than casual, more casual. Go for a sort of safe colour, and make sure, I would wear a blazer for sure, and also make sure that, like, your dress, if you're a girl, make sure your dress is an appropriate length. Mine was just about okay. Just above the knee is fine. And yeah. So I hope this video helped. Let me know in the comments below if you've got any other ideas of how to prepare for an assessment day. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!